And we're live, people. Deluded. I'm back again. We've got Jess, who's more or less a stranger on the platform now. How you doing? The season's over.
How am I a
We
stranger?
don't know you anymore. We don't know you. You haven't been here for a while. We don't know you. You're a stranger, man. We don't know you. Your past has been revoked, but it's cool, man.
You could have still asked me on your channel. You just stopped responding. You just stopped asking me on your
I
channel.
haven't. If I stopped responding, how would I be here? This is not making sense, people. You see how
And
it doesn't make
actually,
sense.
this would not be happening if I didn't reach out to you. So
Yeah. Yeah, but I've been going through a lot in my life. And to be fair, she's talking about reaching out. Yeah, let me go through my own texts. Okay, fair enough. She can have that.
you said
Last
you're
show,
going through a
me,
lot.
huh?
I said you're going through a lot. You said.
Going through a lot, man. I get social anxiety, man. Like if you see the amount of messages on my phone, like I see it, I get nervous. I'm like, everybody just leave me alone. But as I was saying, all right, this show is on you. The last one's on me. The last one's on me. The last one's on me. Oh, she said happy birthday. Big her up for that. The last one's on me. That would the one after that. It's all on me. It's all on me. When I'm actually trying to find when you last asked me, Les said that. See, I'm all going. I'm now in February. Les said that. Moral of the story is, it's all me, people. It is a proper guest. Ish. Not too much credit in the circle, man. Credit next week or the week after. She's
Yeah,
back to zero. She's moving like, oh the god.
you hate me, man.
Man said, DG been snaking us. Never. I'm still here, man. Don't gang up on me. But unfortunately, we do have to talk about Arsenal, as good as it is to see you again. Before I ask you some more in-depth questions, Jess, how does it feel? Like now the season's done, dust is settled, the good, bad, the ugly. What's your immediate thoughts?
I feel relief that the season is over. But the repercussions of us being so poor keep coming, because obviously there's still finals happening. And, I know that, people are using this whole well, do you want to finish in 7th and be in the Conference League and win that? But the reality is when you see your rivals winning things, it only highlights the fact that you haven't done it. And so it's not so much about wanting to win the Conference League. It's, wow, we really haven't won anything. And, it's another disappointing season. This one is probably up there for one of the most disappointing under Mikel so far. And
Really?
I think so. I think in terms of what we expected to what we ended up doing and getting, yeah, I think so. I think this, the last 2 seasons, we were in a title race, but we weren't really supposed to be there. And then the next one we missed out by 2 points. This one felt a lot darker, So yeah, I feel
Less of that in a circle. Big up. Less of that. I don't know who's referring to.
Yeah. But I feel like relief is probably the biggest thing. But now seeing, other teams being linked with certain players and getting a little bit of anxiety about okay, are we gonna do the thing or are we gonna go out sad? But what do you think?
In relation to doing this thing, show me, innit? Show me. Like, Berta, all my faith is with you. I don't like to put trust in no one but God. But you are, you've got a bit of credit because you've just walked in. I don't know if this is going to be the Berta summer. I think it's just a case of, getting a Zubimendi over the line, having an ability to pivot, probably where the contracts and outgoings, just kind of cleaning up shop. So I got all the faith in Berta. But if you want strikers and centre mids and depth and want to get over the line and do this and that, please show me. There's nothing else. Just show me. The chatting thing is over now, Jess. Like there was a point. Well, to be fair, during the majority of our lives, at this Emirates Stadium, there's been a lot of lip service, and it hasn't correlated. Yeah. I do think under Arteta, we got into this period where, fair enough, people talk, but the talking was correlating on the pitch. I think we've slowly but surely crept back in, and it's another season, like you've alluded to, of disappointment. Guard of honor, smart, fine margins. It's all well and games and fun and games. Better yet, Mikel Arteta saying we're the best team in the Champions League, and I get his point versus the clickbait, but it doesn't mean anything. It's all about getting over the line. That's the bottom line with these last 3 years. Haven't got over the line. So show me. And I've said this on my channel. If I feel sorry for anyone, it's the players, because I can criticize their ability, the roles they're in, all of these things. I think they've ran themselves into the ground. We've got youngsters stepping up, people coming back from injury, players being loaded with more minutes. It's just disappointing. But when it's all said and done, we've had 3 seasons with 3 different contexts and good at other things than others. It's not been it. And for me, I think there's many ways you can look at it, Jess. I want to know where you're at. You could point towards January, you could point towards the summer, you could point towards all the in between and the highs and lows. We won 1-2 battles, we didn't win the war. For me, it goes back to the summer. You know the saying in life, start as you mean to go on. We had a terrible summer, terrible season.
Yeah, the summer really did not set us off in a good direction. And I think,
Horrible.
I get being, people want to believe the best is going to happen. And so I do think there are quite a few people that were maybe putting on that they thought that, no, we'll be just enough, we'll be fine. Like, it's okay. But the reality is that, to me, after missing out on the title twice, to me, there was just not enough shame or embarrassment of not achieving. That was not a window that showed that there was like shame and embarrassment for not getting where you need to go. It gave arrogance to me. And I feel like we are starting to get into this period of time where Arsenal are acting like a club that either doesn't believe that we need to win these things, or things, eventually it'll come and we could just kind of dilly-dally. But I just need them to put a little bit more pressure and act like this was more of a failure than a step forward. Because the window that we had really did give. It's okay. That's fine. Havertz, he did well up front. We don't need to get a striker. Sterling last day of the season, they'll be all right. Like, we're not going to get a shit ton of injuries. We'll be fine. Our injury record was good last 2 seasons. It's not like half of our team played in the Euros and have a million minutes on their legs. It just felt arrogant, and so I hope that
Naive for me.
Yeah. And I don't want to say, like, it sounds harsh, but I feel like there needs to be a little bit of a humbling and like you know what? This wasn't a good season, not for a big team. And so we need to build towards, like, at least making the fans and the players and feel like we know that it wasn't good enough and we're going to push forward. Because having Declan Rice ask for signings in January for me was embarrassing. Like, to me, that's embarrassing. A player should never really be talking about getting players. Like, that to me, that, we were in dire straits. So yeah, that window set us up for failure. And, we paid the ultimate cost because there was just no grace. I mean, everything that could have went wrong. And so I feel like I want them to assume the worst and then make sure that they prepare for that outcome. And then we hope for the best,
You said it there. Like, I think this season was, how do I make it make sense? We didn't win the war. We won 1-2 battles, top 6 record, great. Still finished second. Not that I'm happy about
open
that.
the door
It could have.
for them. Give me 2 seconds. Keep talking.
Go on. As I was saying, people, like, for me, it's we won 1-2 wars. I mean, battles. We didn't win the war. Top 6 record was still there. Beat Madrid, all of that kind of stuff. But be all and end all, we didn't win anything. Yes, I would have loved. You lot know me. I always sit here and say I want to win the FA Cup. Wouldn't have minded the League Cup because we was in the semis. That never happened. We all know the Prem and the Champs is where we want to go. Champions League, I'm more try and play it by ear and where we can go. The Premier League. This weren't a race. Yeah, we finished second. It weren't a race. And I think I think there's a lot of reasons as to why that happened. And I think people are very naive. There's many different factors. There's not actually one reason as to why things didn't happen. But people like to do this whole injury thing, which played a part. But when everyone was fit, we was complaining about low blocks. Fuckery was still going on. There's many different, of course, there's been refereeing decisions. We've not killed games. We've not had that individual brilliance when everything's going wrong just to get the result. But all of these things that we're talking about, and Jess is going to talk about, and no doubt between the 2 channels we'd have covered, every one of these things was spoken about last season or the season before the one that's just gone. Unfortunately, if nothing changes, and history is written by the victors. We can't write anything. 20 years from now, we know what them lot down the lane did, and I definitely know because I saw it with my own eyes. We saw what Chelsea did. We saw a bunch of underdog sides, not even in this country, go and win stuff. So it's jarring. Jess, you made a point about January, and I more blame the summer period, I guess indirectly on the owners, but I think Edu, Arteta, and everybody in between fumbled. January, kind of what you're saying, I think that's on the board. Whatever I feel about Arteta or the players or this one or that one, and there's no sporting director, you could see we're going to run out of steam. And it ties me to ask you this, because Graham has said it, yeah. DG, I think it's about time the owners feel some of the pressure. We've had 4 windows since Arteta took the helm where we didn't spend a penny. That's not good enough. He's been asking for a striker for 2 years. Where are you at with the owners? And do you think like the owners need pressure, or is it a cop-out for you to just simply look at the owners?
Listen, the Cronkies, I do think have found a way to kind of spin a narrative or, a little bit of PR around how since 2018, since they've gotten full ownership, they put a lot of money in and they're super serious about getting Arsenal to the top and all of that. But I still don't see the same application that I see from Chelsea and Man City in particular. I think their ownership really wants to win, and you can tell because no matter what, they're buying players, they're almost overspending, fully stocking their teams with talent. Whether they get it right or wrong is irrelevant to me. And I think we still see almost like a cautiousness or a little bit of like a, reluctancy to really go full throttle with KSC. We do just enough, just enough, just enough. And so ultimately it all comes down to them because if you don't like Mikel or you don't think he's good enough, they're the one who's got him on the second highest wage in the world. They're the ones who hired him. They're the ones who are putting out the PR that he's under no pressure. So yeah, I think the Kroenkes should be under more pressure, but it's really difficult to get the ownership out because as long as we're a consistent top four side, their investment is protected. And that's pretty much the money stopped coming in once I think they felt like we were a consistent top four side. Once they got us back there, yeah, then it was like, okay, now we're good. Now we can just kind of, do we really need to do that? Do we really need to do this? And, so knowing that it's probably going to be next to impossible to get the ownership out, it's really hard to get the owners out.
They've survived worse.
Yeah. The next best thing or the next thing is the manager. And I think that's why people are hyper focused on Mikel. Now, when people say like, oh, well, he asked for a center forward for 2 seasons, this is true to a certain extent, but he also told Sesko that he wasn't going to get as many minutes as maybe he would like because Kai Havertz would be starting. So,
and you spent 65 million over there.
Exactly. And from that moment to the end of the window, there was no other striker brought in. So again, your comfort with Kai Havertz and your affinity for him meant that you were okay with not bringing in another striker, or at least maybe taking up one of Edu's backup options, which reports were saying that it was Munoz from Fulham, and he didn't want that. So if you were super desperate for a striker, you would have lied to Sesko and got him here, or brought in Munoz. It wasn't until the January window where you knew shit was slipping away where you wanted Ollie Watkins. But
he was less diplomatic on things. He was quite specific.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Arteta's changed his tune from the summer to now, and he's pretty much put all the blame on, the higher ups. I think the way that he speaks about things feels like, not like you're lucky to have me because I kept you in second, but basically, you're in second.
He's getting goosebumps.
Yeah, we got in second, and I kind of kept you guys there. I did that, but the board let me down, and so we need to let them do their job. But the idea that he had his hands tied behind his back and he's not culpable in any way, I do think is disingenuous. But it is a group. This was a group shit sandwich for sure.
And that's and you said it there, Jess. Like, it was a group shit sandwich. Everybody has to take accountability. Like, everybody knows me. If I could, I'd get the KSC out, but unfortunately, they're not going. We all know how they run stuff, and they could turn around and say to me, "Deluded, you know how we run stuff, rightly or wrongly. We put people in place, we let them do their things. Everybody sits here and says, oh, if Arteta gets sacked, who's going to replace him?" Bearing in mind, when we got Arteta, he never had a CV, he never had anything. They backed him, they've given him money, we've broken transfer record, they've given him and his coaching staff new deals. They could sit there and say this, and unfortunately for Arteta, if you didn't think you could do stuff here, you wouldn't have taken the job, because you did reject it the year Emery came in, and you wouldn't have signed the new deal. I don't care how much you get paid, but you wouldn't have signed the new deal for 15 mil, and maybe your coaching staff F off. So how far does that go? If anyone in life signs for any job, whether you work in retail or whatever, fair enough, the company might trick you, but at some point you're going to look around the working practices. You're going to ask yourself, is this the best place for me to earn financially? Am I learning here? And if not, you're going elsewhere. So it don't really go far. Obviously, Arteta could leave and it kind of stays the same. We're used to this, but I think it's a bit of a cop-out. It kind of ties into this as well. Just one love for the super chat, my boy. If the transfer window is a success, who gets the credit? Arteta, Berta, or the owners? If it's a failure, who's going to get the blame? Where do you stand on that?
Well, we know that if it's a success, it's all Mikel. If it's a failure, it's Berta. And That's kind of how it was with Edu. Edu was pretty much, I think he was pretty much thrown under the bus. He was pretty much thrown under the bus in terms of, Arteta does have a lot of say in the transfers, and we know that because Ornstein has said that. And when the transfer windows were seen as a positive, like when we got Declan Rice and stuff like that, it was, oh, he masterminded this, and he, especially once they thought that Kai Havertz had started to turn a corner, the narratives and the PR were coming out that, Arteta was right and that he convinced everyone, and Edu and them didn't know what they were doing, but Mikel knew more. We know how the split goes. If it goes right, Mikel did it. If it goes wrong, Berta's sabotaging him. But for me, it's always a combination of everyone. It's, if it goes badly, I'm going to be looking at Berta sideways, and I'm also going to be looking at Mikel.
Exactly what Jess said there. I'm past the point of he say, she say. Reality is, I'm not at London Coley. I do think fans buy into whatever fantasy they want. If they believe in Arteta ridiculously to the point where he can't be given criticism, they'll paint imaginary scenarios that, oh, he was let down, he asked for this, he asked for that. I personally think it's everyone. Like Jess has said, everybody shares the W's, everyone shares the L's. I keep saying it, and I'm a broken record. When I was younger, grandma's house, playing with my cousins, and there's 5 of us, 6 of us in the room. I might have been reading a book. The other kids must have been playing and broke something. Everyone's in trouble. They tell us about collaboration. Go and collaborate in it. And that's actually something that I'm a bit fearful of, because obviously Berta's coming with a big reputation. He's an internal, but external factor where we've got a bit of belief. I don't want people to sit there and blame him, because I don't know if this is going to be the Berta window. But yeah, one love for the super chat. Everybody's to blame. In the same way, everybody's to get the praise, man. Question, DG Jess. The Cronkies wanted top 4. When they had part shares, they haven't changed. Maybe people should get off Arteta's back and call them out. I think everybody's called out everyone, but the gaffer's not going anywhere. I mean, the owner's not going anywhere. And to be fair with you, are they the reason why we haven't necessarily won silverware? I can't sit here and say they haven't backed Arteta. Is it what I would want to see back in? They can't sit here and act like that. When it was Wenger, cool, you could say that. It's not. I don't believe it. I really don't.
People have to remember that, like, and this is my, kind of like one of the debates going on the timeline about this whole, like, should we have won something by now, or at least been to a final? And I do believe wholeheartedly that we've had a team for a while now that I feel very confident could have won something by now. Not necessarily Premier League and Champions League, but 100% could have won a cup or something. And people are really harping in on, yeah, but he wanted a striker and he begged for it and didn't get it, and so his hands were tied. And I'm like, but that doesn't really have anything to do with the fact that like when we went into the Manchester United game at home, we didn't feel like we were out of that competition. When we were playing Newcastle at home, we didn't feel like we're out of that competition. I think a lot of these excuses come after the fact, but no matter what injuries, red cards, or lack of signings we had this season, Arteta's had many opportunities to win something with his team and hasn't done so. And so there's just no way that all of the context blankets over every single chance at a trophy that we failed to get. And I think that's pretty much what, like, Thierry was kind of saying, is like, at this stage, we should have at least gotten to a final. But people were just like deflecting and being weird about it. And I'm like, I think all of us can pretty much, like, anybody who's saying that it makes sense that we haven't won anything at this stage, I really think is lying, because we should have at least gotten to a final. Because you don't have to be the best team to get to a final. Both Spurs and
that helps them sleep
United
at
were
night,
in finals.
That's what helps them sleep, Jess. That's what helps you sleep. Like, football borders on religion. If you try and tell people what they believe in isn't necessarily a lie or whatever, then there's issues. I'm a real gunner. No, but this is the problem I have, because people have selective hearing. At the start of this, what we're 20 minutes in, me and Jess literally said there are many factors in ingredients, better yet, into the season: injuries, red cards, this one, that one. And you've mentioned Arteta getting all the blame. Jess said it better than me. We can't just blame him. Everyone's there. So this is what I mean about being disingenuous and hearing what we want to hear. Moving away from that, this is an interesting one. I ain't ever heard this question. Shout out Arsenal perspective. You've been here all day. Is there any more that Josh can do in terms of pressure for support from Stan to get us closer to the promised land? I don't know, man. Tell your dad to love the football club as much as the other sports, innit?
Yeah. I was like, be honest, guys. Like, if you've watched Succession or any type of show where there's like this family business and they have all these different businesses, they always kind of like the dad is always willing to like shove off the thing he cares about the least on like the most like, the son that really wants to be a part of the family business. That's basically what happened. We have been pawned off to Josh because Stan, he doesn't give a fuck about us. He only cares about his American sports team. So I'm not sure that like Josh could do much more than what he's doing now because they have a set amount of money and investment that they want to give to Arsenal. And so I don't think anything is really going to change in that respect. I think knowing who our owners are, we need to be in a position where everything underneath that maximizes what we're going to get from them. And I feel like that's the biggest difference between us and Liverpool is that Liverpool owners, and like they always complain about their owners, but they still maximize to the best of their ability what they do get from their owners, where we kind of fuck around quite a bit. We really do. The manager doesn't get the most out of what he has. The sporting director and the transfer team or whatever doesn't buy the right players all the time. We don't sell well. Like there's just a lot of stuff, so yeah, I don't know if Josh can go and ask dad for more money, but I think he's, we're pretty much his pet project. So I don't really know. I don't know what he can do.
And I just feel rightly or wrongly, obviously things are subjective and things could be reviewed. But there's one thing getting angry at the manager, the players, being sympathetic to everyone. Again, disclaimer, because people want to hear exactly what they want to hear. Everybody's to blame, yeah. But at the same time, I feel there's certain home truths you have to accept. Rightly or wrongly, we know how the Cronkies operate. As Jess has eloquently put, we know how they operate. Arteta has signed a 50 mil a year contract. And I've looked at myself with him, yeah, and it's almost like this season I feel this is one that's going to not scar him in necessarily a negative way, but scar him as a manager. This is where you're going to have to learn from. I keep finding myself go into one word, and that word being experience. You mentioned Liverpool. I look at Slot. Fair enough, his name's in higher regards now because he's won. But you mentioned the FFG stuff. They've got experience. Klopp was experienced in those kind of things. Michael Edwards was experienced. I know we've got Burton now, but we've had Edu pissing away. You either sign stars or you find them emerging talents, which Liverpool have had plenty, or even not necessarily emerging talents, players that are good, but nobody's taking a chance on them. And if anybody, whether that's Berta, Arteta, rightly or wrongly, because the Cronkies are not going anywhere. If anybody here feels they can't achieve what they can achieve within that remit, they have to leave. It's not making sense. It's not, because we've been able to flirt with the success we want. Unfortunately, it hasn't gone. Do you believe we'll genuinely get to the promised land? As I said, seeing's believing now. Like, show me in it. Don't tell me. Show me in it. Show me. Show me. It would have to be in spite of the owners.
The longer it goes, the less confident I am. I just... it's just, we've had good opportunities. And personally, I do think that football is in cycles. And I think teams like Arsenal need to strike while the iron is hot for them, because we build all the way up and then we'll go through a dip because our players will get older and we won't replenish right or whatever. And then we have to come back up. It takes us a long time to build up a team that's challenge worthy. And so when we have this 4 or 5 year period, we really need to strike. And for 5 of the seasons so far under Mikel, we've won nothing. So, yeah, because after this season, players are going to start itching to leave, so that's already going to be like, so I'm concerned because we're not.
Do you really believe that?
Yeah, I think somebody like Saliba will want to leave if we don't win anything next season. Yeah, for sure. I don't know if Saka will, but I do think that we'll start to look really funny in the light if we don't win anything next season. So, yeah. We're not like City where their owners are going to keep us at the top and continue to spend and have like that dominance. We have to strike while it's hot, and we're not really doing that. So yeah, I'm concerned, but
boy,
here we are.
Yeah, man, it's upsetting. Like, obviously, a lot of people in the chat, a lot of sentiment around the Arteta is do or die. Like, next season, you have to get it done. I would extend that and say either the Premier League or the champs. Many people might say you have to get a trophy. Some believe that the League Cup and the FA Cup isn't going to cut it. Do you feel like it is do or die for Arteta next season? And I say that to say this: like, imagine we had the season that we have this year, next year, in a sense of we're second, maybe not necessarily that many points off, but we're second. There's 2 semi-finals. We've effed up in the FA Cup, which we've done 2 years in a row, which comes down to no strikers to finish against Liverpool United. But if we had a season like this year, next year, in terms of where we place, Does he get sacked necessarily?
I don't think so, because I think that I already saw something from The Athletic come out that said that, like, the idea that Arteta is under pressure to win something next season are very overblown. The club are really happy with him and stuff. I think he's here until he walks away, and that is very problematic. Arsenal have this idea that they need to be a forever manager club. They want to replicate what they had with Arsene, but even what we had with Arsene, it wasn't great. We really should have maybe moved on from him earlier before it got super ugly. So yeah, I don't know why the club is like this. I don't get it. I don't understand. I believe in failing a little bit, maybe fail fast. I think with Arteta, why I gave him more time is because I knew he was a novice and he was going to need a little bit of time. But I think we're beyond that period now. And right now it's win or not. And the fact that Arsenal are not there yet, the board and stuff, we know he's not going next season if he doesn't win anything. We know that, so it's concerning. But I think the fans are going to start to turn for sure. I think the apathy will set in. You'll see more empty spots in the stadium. People won't be excited. Yeah, it could get dark next season from a fan's perspective, but he's cushy.
I
You
mean,
don't
that's
give
the only
somebody
thing that changes
$1
it.
million a year if you don't believe that he's the guy. You're going to stick with him.
And that's the only thing that will change. The only thing that will get rid of Arteta, if that is what people want, yeah, obviously results, but bums on seats. The minute the Cronky see no, but that's all. Let's be honest. That's what let Emre go. Like, that's what let Emre go. Like, big up Arteta. You took the job. You did what you needed to do. But it's now about getting over the line. And for some people that cut a lot of excuses for Arteta, I always say this. I don't think you rate Arteta. I definitely think you don't rate Arteta. This is coming from, I'm pretty sure on YouTube, I'm the biggest Arteta fan there is. It's the difference is I'm not going to make excuses and I'm not putting Arteta above my club. You can't rate him because if you really think he's done this super job and he's got this super team and he's doing quite well as a novice manager, which two truths can live in the same realm, why on God's green earth do you not hold him to those standards? If Saka scores for 10 games in a row, you're going to big him up. If he goes on a drought for 10 games, you're going to ask what's going on. You can't
Yeah.
have Arteta up here. You can't want our team to be at the big boy table and then find all these dibby excuses. Obviously, when we go away from the banter and being bottlers and yada, 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 you can have conversations, but you can't rate him. You can't rate him. You cannot rate what he's doing that much if there's always a reason. But when things go right, you're ready to big things up. Why not just find the middle ground? Big up Arteta for where you've taken us. We are closer to our goals than we're further away. And it just feels like as a club across all aspects, if my mic is the Premier League title, as soon as we've come on this big journey, we're here, now we're acting. And at some point, you're gonna have to try something else. You're going to
Yeah,
have to, whether that's like you're gonna have to. It might not guarantee success, but how long are you gonna keep doing the same things?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to see the club. I think what frustrates me every season is that there's never a acceptance that this wasn't good enough. It's kind of a little bit, you see some of the players maybe taking a little bit more responsibility this season, but for the most part, I feel like the people that matter, the front facing people, are always kind of putting on this front that this was not, to me, for a big club that was at the beginning of the season, the goal was to win a Champions League or a Premier League. For the season
Arteta
to
said
go
that
the way that
himself.
it did, to me, it's a disaster. I thought that felt like a disaster season to me. It kind of was it papered over the cracks that we got to the semifinals of the Champions League, but
And we're
outside of
on that,
that,
Jess. When we won, it's all Arteta. It's amazing. It's great.
yeah, it
When
was
things go shaky, what's going on? My point is a
yeah,
middle ground. You have to
yeah, I
blame
wanted,
everybody and praise everyone, not just one person. It's
yeah,
jarring.
I wish that at the end of the season, instead of sitting up there talking about be patient, we're going to win things, that he would say, this wasn't good enough. You guys definitely deserve more. We're going to win the big ones next season. We're going to win something and we're going to make
Don't
sure.
talk, just do.
I just need there to be some sort of because the actions plus the words make me think that they're this is cool. This is fine. And I was speaking to somebody about this the other day because, people are like, why do you think they hired Berta? And I'm like, the more I think about it, I don't think it's about a stylistic thing necessarily. I think people are like, well, Arteta plays shit football and so do Atletico Madrid. So, they brought him over. I don't necessarily feel like it was that. I think it's more he was able to win the league with, Atletico twice in a league where they're not supposed to, because there's Barcelona and Real Madrid, and then they also are consistent top four side. I wonder if Arsenal, that's how the Cronkies view Arsenal, as a consistent top four side, not necessarily meant to win the league, but if they win it every once in a while it's okay. I feel like the way that they act, that is how they view us. And if that's the case, we're in for some hurt, because Arsenal are not the type of club historically that just win every once in a while and just scrape top four and are happy. They need to have bigger ambition. They don't have bigger ambition than the majority of this fan base. I think the majority of this fan base thinks higher of the club than they do. And it's wild. Like United saying two UCL finals as well. You know, they Atleti have done things being like the little brother, kind of like, you know, whatever, to Real Madrid, but I don't view us as that team. I don't view us that way. I hope they don't view us that way, you know, because I think we're better than that. But, you know, it's, yeah,
Listen,
maybe
everybody likes to walk. Everyone
yeah,
likes to waffle about back-to-back eighth and all of that. And I'm not, listen, Arteta, big yourself up for that. But you see, once we've been in this 3-year period, the 2022-23 period to now, it has just been about getting over the line. And there's nothing wrong with that. We need to be able to get over the line. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying maybe you're the guy that gets us to a point. If we look at what he's kind of done with the squad, there was a point Zinchenko was first name on the team sheet. Tierney was first name on the team sheet.
yeah,
Aaron Ramsdale was in goal. Naturally, there's evolution. And that might have to be a possibility until the gaffer gets over the line. Of course, everyone hopes that the guy can do it. Why would we not want stability? But at some point, something we've got to go about it differently. We've got to go about it differently. And I understand why some Arsenal fans have an over attachment. We've been shit for years. Arteta's come in,
yeah,
done some great things. I get it. But I do think, I'm not talking about the middle ground. I think there's a middle ground in our fan base that like Arteta, but recognize he needs to deliver. Used to like Arteta, thinks he might go. We're not talking about the extreme sides. If you're in that middle ground, you genuinely can see we're not as good as certain people make out. We're not as bad as certain people make out. But what we do have is something. Now, are we going to go up the levels, or are we going to just fade away? Because this has been the worst of the 3 years. It has. And
yeah,
it's all fun.
I agree.
It's all fun and games. Arteta saying, "Oh my God, you know, other teams would have fallen away. We were finishing second." You have announced yourself, because of your work and everyone else, as being one of the best teams in the country. You should be able to not fall away with other teams. How far does that go? It's
Yeah,
about getting these
100%.
trophies.
I mean, I don't expect us to have injuries and then we fall out of the top four, top
He
five,
needs
or
to
whatever.
reinvent himself.
So, yeah, I get that for him. That's a good thing. But for me, this season just fell incredibly flat, and you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I think it just all depends. You know, I know that there's a lot of fans that still really believe that it's going to happen. If you go
Hope it
6
does. I
years
want
without
trophies.
doing something, though, like I just wonder how long you can believe, but it is what it is, you know?
Completely random, but would you swap Odegaard for Cole Palmer? Odegaard, one love, my G.
I
Bring
think
Cole Palmer
this
in.
season, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
No, I'm taking. I'm
100%.
swapping him. I'm swapping him regardless. I love Odegaard, but safe. Like you're
No,
coming in.
I wouldn't do it.
Palmer's a
I
baller,
wouldn't
bro.
do
The
it.
mentality. I
If
need monsters.
Odegaard was still getting the 15 and 15, I don't think we'd feel that way.
I'd
But
still
I
show.
hear it.
I'm a big fan of Palmer. I still would. I still would. I can't lie to you.
No, fair enough, you know? Not gonna happen though, so you will
Yeah,
deal with
exactly.
Odegaard.
We have to. One love for the super chat again, Ahmed. Appreciate that. The players will leave next season, just like Liverpool under Rodgers. Letting Rodgers, I think you mean, go when they did, is the only reason they aren't where United are. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm at that point now. I get it. I hear it. I've seen teams like Trent's won it all at Liverpool. He still wanted to go Real Madrid. I've seen
Mhm.
Thierry Henry leave my football club, and we definitely have to speak about him. Anybody, if Arteta feels, and I mean this in the most humblest way, Arteta, if you feel that your ambitions, if they are not being matched by the owners, please leave. Any player that feels that they don't want to be here, cut, man. Anybody, down to the F&T lady. If you don't want to be here, it's cool, you know. Please just go. Just go. That's where I'm at. But that is a factor, you know. And again, it would be very different if Saka left, like in relation to Trent, because Trent's done it all at Liverpool. There would, if Saka left right now, there's that element of what if, what could have been, what should have been. And again, I don't think me and Jess are being very harsh, because again, if you disagree with us, by all means do that. What has the manager said for the best part of a year? What has the players said? What has the owner, well, somewhat owner Josh Kroenke said? They
Mhm,
want to
mhm.
win. Don't rest on your laurels. What was said on the last day of the season, not the year that just gone, the year before? The words have to match up, man. It
They
is
do.
what it is, man. Is what it is. If you feel we're yapping techno, the beautiful thing about YouTube, F off, bro. Like, hear it. I hear it, but that's what some
Techno's
people want
been
to do.
going off in the chat the whole time, and my whole thing is when I don't like the thing that I'm looking at, I turn it off. So yeah.
It is what it is, man. If you want to go hear some negative madness, go over there. If you want to hear everything's going bad, going great, go over there. One thing I find funny about these kind of people is I'm pretty sure when we beat Real Madrid, couldn't tell no one to shut up. Was there for the waffle.
Mhm.
Anything close to constructive criticism, because nobody's screaming or shouting. People don't want to hear it. Do you really think Mikel Arteta and them lot are sharing the opinions you do? I hope they're not, because we're not going to get to where we need to get to. Moving away from that, Jess, though, man. We've kind of had an overview of this, but with it being with Arsenal's 2024-25 season being done, I want to ask you 1-2 questions, and I know you're going to get onto me for something if I'm honest with you. But let's start. When I had a gal, we did it. He started doing it bottom up. Goal of the season.
Okay. Either one of Declan Rice's free kicks.
Which one?
Probably the second one.
Same. A gal went with that as well. I don't think anyone can disagree. It was a madness. Performance of the season.
Declan Rice versus Real Madrid. I just feel like that's the best performance that we've had this season from a singular player. So if you're talking about from a singular player, that was it. From even a player's perspective, I feel like that's the most we look like us was against Real Madrid in those 2 legs. So yeah.
If you had to pick though, home or away?
It's got to be home, right? Because
a gal went with away. I went with home.
Yeah, I think I have to go with home because that's what set us up for the away to. It still was a difficult game, but so yeah, I would say home at against Real Madrid. Yeah.
If I had to say individual performance, I'm gonna say Lewis Skelly against City. Because he was a shithouser and what happened. Really if his team performance, Real Madrid at home.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there are several performances from, I would say, Miles Lewis Skelly that could be up there because there were times where he was just fake. He was just so good and you just, so yeah, but I think I have to probably recency bias as well, but we haven't had that many great performances. So I just think
We've had a couple. Not many. We've had a decent amount. Unpopular opinion, City away. I know we dropped points, we drew, but that was one of the times I was like, fair play.
Well, Sporting away.
True.
Sporting away, City at home, and the Real Madrid games were our best performances of the
PSV?
season. Nah.
7 goals or something.
It wasn't like a surprise that we played well against or we beat them. You know what I mean?
Fair.
Yeah. But those are the games where I felt like I was looking at Arsenal. I feel like there was a lot of games where I was watching us and I didn't feel like I was watching the team that I knew, So yeah.
Just wish we got exposed to that on a more frequent basis. Disappointment of the season.
I would say from just a player's perspective, like one singular player or just a performance?
Both.
Oh, okay. I would say the most disappointing player of the season is by far Odegaard, I think.
I thought you was going to be dishonest. Fair play.
No, listen, I've never said that I don't think that he's been disappointing. I think people acting like he's never been good before or he's always been this bad, that's where I drew the line. But, it can't be Sterling. He's a lone player that we didn't have high. Odegaard, before this season, whether, it wasn't that he's not better than Saka or Saliba, but he was up in that group. And
he's a captain, man.
Yeah, this season cast a shadow over him and it was just hard, so I would say Odegaard because the standards are so high that he set that this was just incredibly poor and something that I personally did not foresee at the beginning of the season. It just came out of nowhere and it really shocked me. Disappointment in terms of performances or games or whatever. I just think in general the way that we could not win a game around right after Ipswich in the Premier League was horrendous. The Crystal Palace, the Bournemouth, those games for me.
Forest really away, man. It's like we were just
Forest
out
away.
Of juice.
Yeah, to me, those were just this can't be it, And I would say there's probably only one player that I felt like was really taking it serious and trying to put the team on their back, and that was Declan. And some of those goals that he scored during that period kept us from really sliding out of that top 5. I don't think people realize how close it was, that we were really on the edges. If Declan had not scored that goal against Newcastle, we would have went into the final game needing to beat Southampton, or because, if we needed to beat Southampton, everybody else would have played differently. So yeah, I think that was the biggest disappointment is, damn, you can't beat anybody. Because some of these teams were in bad runs of form. Like Bournemouth hadn't won a game in a million years and then came to the Emirates and snatched the points. Like, it was just crazy. So
Bournemouth away was horrible even without the red card. Do you know what? Disappointment of the season, if we're talking like collectively, it's for me, it's not winning the trophy. To be honest, it's how the league's been. It's the frustrating moments, it's the dropping points for winning positions. It's fundamentally not really, it's just the fact that I'm not winning a trophy. If you're asking me for a game, it's difficult, man. It's got to be the draws, any one of the draws. But it's got to be the draws. Oh, Newcastle away in the League Cup. Newcastle in the League Cup.
Yeah.
Newcastle in the League Cup.
Newcastle in the League Cup, and also Man United in the FA Cup. I think that one, actually, now that I think about it, I want to erase the draws. That was in those white kits at home, losing to Man United with like Odegaard missing the penalty,
10 men
missing sitters, 10 men losing on penalty. Like, to me, that
shouldn't even went to pens.
That was horrendous. So yeah, it has to be that. That showed the worst version of Arsenal. And we'd seen kind of versions of that last year when we couldn't beat Liverpool at home in the FA Cup in those white kits. But this was worse than that, So yeah.
I'd say Arteta as well, man. I don't like big you up Arteta, but unlike the Arteta sexuals, who I rate Arteta a lot more, I think you've learned a lot this season. I don't feel as a fan of yours, I don't think I've seen any evolution. Like 2022, 23, great attacking football. I understand we was very naive. We look at that season with rose tints. So we got great defensively last season. We still got some of those defensive statistics this season, but I don't feel there's a standout metric. I'm like, oh, Arteta, you've shown me something new. So it's a bit dark, man. Unsung hero. It's got to be Marino, man.
I'm going to say Kivior. I think he was the player that we probably had the most questions about going into those Madrid games. And
not me. I've always rated him. That's my guy. I've always rated him. I thought he's cold. I tried to tell Jess he's cold. Kivior's sick. Sure. Are you looking at me like I'm shameless? You know the answer to this.
But yeah, I would say to me, it's Kivior, because he was probably the most not, I think a lot of people had really written him off. So yeah, I think Kivior. You think Marino?
I'll give it Marino, man, because obviously there was a lot of, I guess, hype about his signing. You saw it, all the tacticals, Partey's never starting, he's the game changer, he's the linchpin, all of this stuff. He got injured, he had a tough time, he had to adapt. He is an Arsenal fan, people got onto him. And to see him have his little moment against Madrid, do his little thing up front, you did your thing, man. You did this is why I'm out of everyone, Mikel Arteta, the executives and the owners and the players, I have the greatest of sympathies from the players. I've seen a variety of players. You mentioned Kivior. I don't think you're better than Magalhaes, but you stood tall against Real Madrid. You got young players stepping up. You got people rushing back from injuries. You've got a centre midfielder. As much as people want to say Arteta is a genius, internal solutions, he's a central midfielder playing up front against Real Madrid. He done very well. So I'd say he's my unsung hero. You answered for your answer for unsung hero is mine for most improved. Kivior playing in your position. Gotta give you your flowers, my boy.
That's a good one. Most improved for him, yeah, for sure.
And then but then to be fair, for unsung hero, I don't necessarily believe it, but I don't feel Timber, Raya, possibly even Partey get enough credit for how they've been playing across the course of the season.
I think Partey actually might fit better into most improved. And the reason why I say that is because the season prior, he basically played no minutes and he had no impact on the season because he couldn't keep his fitness. At the very least, Partey was fit this season. And if he hadn't been, I don't know, what we would have done. So not necessarily from a playing style, but just from being a part of the team and starting games as somebody with one of our highest earners and somebody with he's highly regarded amongst the fan base. I would say Partey had a improvement from last season because he wasn't even involved last season at all. He
Is
wasn't.
there is there someone DG actually doesn't like from the team? Damn, like I can't like my players. And someone I don't like.
He
Well,
hated Kivior.
no, I didn't. I came out with a video and I said, Kivio, I apologies. Like 6-7 months ago, man's joined the
Yeah,
Kivio hub, bro.
dude.
I've always rated Kivio. It's just, you see, with the difference with some Arsenal fans, yeah, this is why I'm like Mikel Arteta. You lot get excited about mediocre things. I saw a beast in Kivio. I said, there's more to come from you. And now look at him. He's a lion. He's a Spartan. Kivio's cold, man. I said, don't play him left back. I was telling Jess about his passing and them things there. She weren't hearing it. Kivio, I'm sorry, my guy. I'm so sorry, Kivio, man. I should have seen the angle I missed. But someone I don't like from the team.
No, you like them all.
I'm trying to think. Well, yeah, they call me a top gooner sometimes. I'm trying to think. What? Martinelli, my guy, Trossard, Odegaard, Rice, Partey, Marino, Timber, Lewis Skelly, Calafiori, Gabriel Magalhaes, Saliba, Sakadinho, of course, Wanyeri, Kai. I don't think the world of you, but I don't dislike you. Carl Hein, the goalie. I think he's meaty. I'll go with Carl Hein. Cop out, but I can't like my players.
Yeah. Okay.
Horrible, man. Now it
Okay.
gets interesting. Well, it doesn't get interesting. We can skip over young player of the season. Shout out to Miles Lewis Skelly. We know you've got that in it.
It's him.
Easy. Player of the season.
Oh, Declan Rice.
Oh, come on. Yes. Yeah. Season.
Yeah. The reason why I say that.
Second half, yeah, cold.
No, because there's no break in the second season, literally, or the second half. For me, like, people always discount players that maybe take a little while to get going. But I feel like if your impact in the second half of the season is top, that's more important than somebody that was really good at the front and then kind of teetered off, because the season really only starts in April. To me, it really only starts in April. I feel like the games at the end of the season hold
like Alex Ferguson.
Weight. They hold a much bigger weight than the games at the very beginning. It was, for me, if Gabriel had played all the way through the season and hadn't gotten injured, because he missed some really big games. He missed the big games in the Champions League. It's hard for me to give him player of the season when he wasn't there for the Real Madrid games, even though he would have, I feel like he would have had massive games, but he wasn't there. So probably for the whole season up until around like March, I thought it was Gabriel. But I just think Declan Rice is, first of all, he wasn't super shit before that. But
yeah, no, people do too much. He was like 5, 6 out of 10.
Yeah, we wouldn't have survived this. This would have been a disaster without Rice's goals and the way that he played. So for me, he's player of the season. But I just think what you do at the back end of the season could make you the player of the season if you play well enough. But what do you think?
I think it's interesting, Jess, man. I think there's many ways of looking at it. Yeah, like before I say who I'd give it to, I think there's a case to give it to Raheem Sterling. You look at Wanyeri and Miles. You look at Wanyeri and Miles Lewis Skelly's emergence. He's good with the young players. He's documented.
Oh,
we signed Sterling. We get into the semi-finals, the Jamaican international. I think it's Raheem Sterling still. Sterling, you thought I was gonna do you dirty, my guy, but no, for me, Magalhaes, man. I hear what you're saying, but Magalhaes has been different gravy. I'd actually want to give it to Raya because I think he should have it, but like keepers don't really get their praise until we need them and whatnot. But for me, Magalhaes, I hear the Rice thing. I think Rice is up there.
It could also be Timber.
I'll give it
I think Timber's in the conversation. Yeah. I think Timber's in the conversation. Coming back from the ACL, he didn't really put any foot wrong. I think he's a big reason why we were good in the Champions League as well. I think MLS is the young player of the season. Gabriel could be there, Timber could be there, and I think Rice could be there too. Nobody in front of that is in this conversation.
Do you know what's funny? Yeah. With the exception of Declan Rice, obviously playing in the 8, yeah, but we've said throughout this, Magalhaes, Kivior, Timber, this one, that one. It seems to be the Raya, the defensive unit plus Rice. This is where you big up Saka for his contribution and Marino, but this is where we need our attackers to shoulder the weight and carry on the burden, man, because yeah, like we shouldn't. Like, I know it's naive and defense wins you titles, goals wins you games. We don't seem to grasp that concept yet. But the attackers, man, like, come on, bro. Saka was cold before his injury, and big up Saka for his return and whatnot. Yeah. Big him up, man. Maybe even Saka could get unsung hero slightly. But it's Saka.
One season he will actually Like, I don't think he hasn't won player of the season in a while. And I think, yeah, maybe next season when he's fully fit and, he doesn't have like that big gap in the middle. But had he had maintained the levels and not got injured, I think he would have done some like crazy stuff. So it's unfortunate that he got injured and stuff, but we know where Saka sits like at the table at Arsenal. He is Mr. Arsenal for us. So, he's great.
L Bags, you're a liar.
He wasn't mid.
Lying.
He wasn't.
Lying. Absolute liar. He definitely wasn't mid.
I don't even
Liar.
think his impact at the end of the season is tough to look at too, because he clearly wasn't fit. He clearly had come back and like
The adrenaline wore off. And now,
yeah, we need to see him fully fit.
How do you feel about the fact that we finished the campaign without a single player scoring 10 or more goals for the first time since 1923-24? Like, you was probably around then.
Definitely around during those times for sure.
Sorry.
But yeah,
Welcome back, Jess. We missed you.
But yeah, I think it just shows. I mean, you could think of this glass half full, glass half empty, because I think, finishing second and getting to the, semifinals of the Champions League with all the injuries and all that kind of stuff, and not having like a striker and stuff, you can make an argument that like, okay, we just need those pieces and all that kind of stuff and it'll fly, it'll be fine. But then you can also look at it and be like, why is it the case that I think what strikes me the most is that, yes, Kai has the most goals and like, that could be a good thing for him. But Martinelli and Odegaard in particular, for me, their goal tallies are too low.
We're carrying them, man.
Yeah, for two players that 2 seasons ago were in 15. So is that just their drop off as players, or does the system not support those two players actually scoring that amount of goals? And I do think, then you start talking about, is it system versus talent and all that kind of stuff. And so
Martinelli's a squad player thing now, man. It's a squad player thing.
Our attacking work. Our attacking work, man. It really does. And I think the system holds them back a little bit, but then equally we need more talent. Players need to look at themselves in the mirror. I really don't think it's that clear cut, but if you have the type of team that we have, you need a bagsman, because there's not really anybody outside of Saka that you can
take those half chances.
Yeah, you don't see
anybody. The next best one. Respectfully to Kai, if you're relying on Kai to score goals, you're in trouble. Big up Marino for his sample size, but you're in trouble. Rice as well. Rice has been a goal threat for us. Which keep doing the 8 stuff, keep having Trossard and Martinelli chipping in, and all them kind of guys. I hope Odegaard gets back to it. But just like what Jess said there, we know Saka's inevitable. We need a next one that's inevitable, or a couple.
Yeah. Any top team, like we're talking about next season, going up against reinvigorated Liverpool and City sides, because they're going to go big in the summer. We also have Chelsea like chasing us down, Newcastle chasing us down.
I think we're finishing.
We're going up against Haaland and Salah. These are two players that consistently come up with a shit ton of goals, and we need to replicate that. Let's stop trying to recreate the wheel and pretend like, we can do it differently. I really wish we would just simplify things and just get players there that are consistent goal scorers instead of trying to be different. Like, I don't know. It feels like we're always trying to be different. It's like, just go get a striker.
Do you not remember we said all of what we're saying now? Yeah, I'm sure if me and you went through all our streams last season or even preseason, and I know it's not easy to change all of these things, but we've said all of this. The chat has said all of this, and it brings me back to, if nothing changes, where it's a fallacy, essentially. Like,
yeah, I mean, it needs to change. Like, I think we'll just continue to say it as long as it's not the case. I'm seeing stuff about, I don't despise Martinelli. I just think, it would just be nice to solve that one thing, get the bagsman, and then if things still don't work, then we can work to look at something else. But until you get that, you really don't know where you sit. So let's go get someone.
Where you at with Rice in the 8 as well? Off topic.
I hate it, man. So
you still Jess, come to the dark side. Trust me, it works now. I used to be like you. He's cold. He's here to stay.
Declan Rice is cold. He's like, I think he could play pretty much anywhere and do a good job. He's
got unique qualities now.
Yeah, that against the deep blocks, you need somebody that's better in the pockets. And so, yeah,
I hear that.
But in big games and when there's space and in Champions League, I'm totally okay with Declan Rice playing the 8, but playing against the Evertons and those guys, they put in the deep block and then it's just long. So
And
yeah,
against
but
Newcastle, no, makes the late runs.
against Newcastle. Oh yeah, when he scored his goal.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like, come to the dark side, man. This is where I like Arteta because I wasn't for it, but the only problem is kind of what you're alluding to, which I agree with. Is like how much blood are you going to draw from that Declan Rice stone? In that, obviously, showing he's adding goals, he does the sweeper stuff, but you've never been that kind of quote unquote sexy midfielder. So it's like, how far is it going to go? And we're going to get onto it. But where you got Zubimendi, it tells me, and if you keep Partey as well, Declan Rice in the
Yeah,
8 is
he's
here
gonna
to
play the
stay. We're
8.
not going for a next one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he just can't be our only option. I think towards the end of the
Exactly.
season, we were creating chances for Declan Rice to score, and it just became very obvious how little goal threat we had. And so if, Declan is scoring 8 goals or something, but we also have somebody that can score 20 goals and Saka is also getting his 15 goals and stuff, it's fine. But when he's the only one, it's glaring how little attack we have. So Declan is a fabulous player. He's world class. He can play 6 or 8, and I'll probably be okay with it. I just feel like it would be nice to have a different option for left center mid that's a little bit more of like an El Canus, a Shirky, a Xavi Simmons to give us something different just in case it's not working. Because right now, we don't have a plan B when we get stuck in those situations. And we, according to what we're trying to do this window, we still won't have one. So, yeah. It's going to be all about crossing that ball in, spamming crosses, and trying to nick it in, because that's what
Wanyeri, I beg you, yeah. Wanyeri, please use this season, yeah, this pre-season. Ask Arteta for any little bit of information, all the books about what Odegaard does off the ball in that role. Get up to speed. Can we try Odegaard in that kind of 8? Move Rice to the right-hand side in the 8. We can go crazy. And obviously you got Zubimendi and Partey. Do you think next year's our year? Obviously, apparently, I don't know if this is true, but the only time Arsenal have ever finished second in 3 consecutive seasons, they went on to win the league in the following year. Come on, hopium,
so
inject
funny
it.
because before this season, everybody was saying, "I just know it's our season."
Hmm.
When you ask them why, and they would say, "I just think it is." I'm just maybe call me a pessimist. I think I'm more of a realist. It all depends on what we do in the off season. Whether we can get our players fit and up to scratch, if we can start the season strong for once instead of last 2 seasons we haven't done so, and if we can bring in the players that we need, maybe I'll start to believe. But even with the players that we're going to bring in, and then the players that reportedly Liverpool and City are bringing in, it's going to be tough, So Arteta is going to have to be that world-class manager to make that true. So yeah,
I
there you
mean,
go.
we already spoke about the rumblings thing, so we can skip over that. What'd you make of Henry's comments?
I personally, I think there was one thing in particular that he said that I felt like didn't really make sense, and that was the Arteta said no to a striker to get Sterling. I don't think that's exactly how it went. But the thing about the trophies, I feel like he's 100% spot on. And to me, I didn't really understand. I feel like a hit dog will holler. If somebody, does something and like says something and it needles you and it kind of, it hits your narrative or your agenda a little bit, you start to panic. And I think Arsenal fans panic because when your legend is saying that, it adds more credence to it. You can't just throw it away like you do when Neville says it or Carragher says it or Keane says it or whatever, or Rivals Online say it. I think a lot of Arsenal fans want our legends to only speak positively about the club. And I don't think he necessarily said anything negative. I think he just spoke like a normal fan would and be like, I think anybody would question, like, at this stage, we haven't made it to a single final. That's strange. He said that Arteta's doing a great job, but he didn't sugarcoat it. And when you've had the season that we've had, what is he meant to say other than, he's doing a great job, but we need to win something?
If it's raining, why he'd be an idiot? If it's raining, why are
Yeah,
you telling us that it's
it.
the sun shining?
Yeah, I didn't get it. And like people saying that he's jealous and, he left with, I just felt, hello. Like, I just don't think but the way that Arsenal fans acted about Ian Wright, even suggesting that like Saka should play left back.
Social media fans are weird, man.
Yeah, we definitely
You
have
hate him.
about us where if you say anything remotely negative or against the narrative, you are out. And it doesn't matter who you are. You can be Ian Wright, you can be Thierry, you are out. And I just don't agree with it at all.
It is a cult.
I think he made some good points. I think the point about needing a striker and getting Sterling instead didn't really match up to me, but he was just asking the same questions that a normal fan would, and he got shitted on for it, and that's unfortunate.
Why do you think, like, because I hear your point about Ian Wright, because I forgot about that. That's good, yeah. But I think most people leave Righty alone. It feels like some on social media are a bit overly aggressive when Omri says anything. Like they whisper about it and then they hype it. I even see fans saying, "Who is he? He's been a poor manager," which is right. But if a former legendary professional footballer in football, let alone at Arsenal, can't speak, Jess, myself, you lot in the comments, us armchair experts better shut the fuck up then. So like, why do you think there's so much? Like, it just feels with Omri, there's a small section there on to him, like proper on him.
Yeah, I just think, with Thierry, it's also the fact that he was a part of that ownership group early on.
Slightly salty, though. I would be honest.
Yeah, I think there's just like little things or whatever. And I just think Thierry, whenever he speaks, he doesn't, unless somebody's exceptional, he's not going to say it. If you know Thierry, which you should, because he's one of our biggest legends, but the way he grew up, nothing was sugarcoated to him. And he took that on from his father. And he's a very blunt person. He has strong ideas and strong ideals, and he's not afraid to say it. He wasn't afraid to kick Man United when they were down. And Arsenal fans loved it. When Thierry was saying that United were shit and they were doing this and that. And I think he got onto, was it Cheetah Obi or was it Kobe Mano? It was one of the young players that they have. And Arsenal fans were loving it. They were saying, well, if Thierry says it, he knows what he's talking about. But if he says it about us, then you guys get upset. Did I love that Thierry Henry was up there on CBS saying that Odegaard wasn't doing enough? No. But was it true? Yes.
Same when he's criticized Martinelli, Jeremy Doku, Garnacho about picking up their head when they're dribbling as well.
A lot of people. Yeah. But, Thierry is a tough critic. And I think that's why he's a good person to have in those panels and talking, because you understand that he's won everything and he understands what it takes to win. And at least from the perspective of being in football and being able to look at the game and analyze it, of course, we should look at his opinion and at least respect it, even if we don't like
Johnny, relax with that. It's Thierry Henry, but go on, Jess.
Yeah, it's TT. Like, I don't know. Do you guys not know this man by now? He is one of the.
And this is why I think there's a cult.
He is one of the bluntest people.
Arteta definitely read the 48 Laws of Power rated.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know what's really going on with that, but I found some of the stuff yesterday to be a little bit like off-putting, about what they were saying about a legend of the club. But, you'll kick Ian. You will
ban him from the Emirates shouts on social media.
Yeah, it's dark, but again, like I said, I think a hit dog will holler. And I think there are a lot of people in this fan base that want to insulate us and make everybody believe the same things and spout the same things. And when somebody with such a strong voice from an Arsenal perspective says something, it makes it hard to refute it. So, yeah. If you've ever said something negative online and you've seen how they kind of attack, then you just kind of know how they operate, and it just is what it is. We know
even some of these comments, man. But yeah, man, I didn't agree with the Sterling thing unless a little birdie has told Henry some factor we don't know.
Yeah, I didn't really agree with this. Yeah,
I think if he was making the general comment about we needed to sign a striker, we effed up great. Mm-hmm. I don't think he hates Arteta, but I don't think he rates him like that, man. He's definitely not bigger than the club here. But one thing I'm gonna say is some of you, including you in the comments, with the greatest of respect, some of you in the comments, you lot have more heat for Thierry Henry. You've got more heat for Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger was killed for less. There's every excuse for the gaffer under the book. Once again, I'm probably the biggest Arteta fan there is. You lot will kill these guys. If you're claiming no one's bigger than the club, there's always an excuse for Arteta. Like, the injuries, I blame the players, the refs. But man, are drawing out Henry. Fuck out of here, man. Anyways, moving on, Jess. I don't even want to. We'll save that for your platform. No doubt you're going to ask me about that. Mm-hmm. Berta is hoping to have 2 or 3 major signings completed early in the window, including Martin Zubimendi and Gyökeres. Where you at with that?
Get it done, man. We need those signings through the door early. Yeah, it's time. I love the Zubimendi signing. The more I see of him, the more I think that he's gonna make us better. Then I just want the the striker in before preseason, idealistically very, very soon. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But in Berta, we trust, I'm hoping that this feels different than an Edu window,
Henry underachieved at Arsenal. Gary, I love you, but come on, he's one player. If he underachieved, everybody underachieved. Arsene Wenger, Patrick Vieira, and everyone. Like, come on now. If Thierry Henry underachieved at Arsenal, then who the manager right now is definitely underachieved. Allow me with all of that. But anyways, yeah. Apparently, Xabi Alonso wants to keep hold of Rodrigo, and apparently there's options of Leao, Williams, and Buemo Gittins. Where you at with them?
I really like Nico Williams. I really like him a lot. I feel like he makes the most sense for us. I think the thing with Leao is not that he doesn't. He kind of offers the same things as Nico Williams, and maybe he's a little bit more like experienced, but his inconsistency and the amount that he's going to cost and the pressure he's going to be under with a huge price tag in the Prem, I don't trust him. He wasn't even really starting for AC Milan at the end of, this season. So I think Nico Williams represents the best option that we could go for. Jamie Gittins is a little too raw, but I think Nico Williams is better. And Bomo, to me, only makes sense if he comes in as kind of like the third option. And he's going to play on the right. I love Brian Mbomo. Like outside,
you need to bring the Gyökeres as well, though. It's not just an
absolutely. As the third attacker, like Gyökeres, Nico Williams, and Mbomo. That's the only way that it makes sense to me. And I would love to have I think this is. I know you're not going to like me saying this, but I think he represents a good replacement for Jesus, an early replacement for Jesus, somebody that can play right wing and center forward and offer something.
Who's Jesus?
Well, I don't know. So if I had to choose between like in that group, I would love Nico Williams and Mbomo, but if we just get Nico Williams, I'd be happy with that too.
You're not a Rafa Leao fan? You're not a Leao fan?
Well, no, I just feel like he, to me, is a bigger risk. To me, he's a bigger risk, and the amount that he's going to cost, I don't trust that he's going to live up to the expectation. So, yeah,
I hear that.
I worry about him, so yeah.
Chelsea versus Arsenal for Rodrigo. Where you at?
I will not be there.
You think we can't do it?
I mean, people were saying that, like, we would have a problem with Gyökeres if United got Champions League, but I think we have a much bigger problem here with Chelsea having Champions League because they are an attractive club. They have been able to, acquire really good players, and they're always willing to spend big. And so, yeah, I know that this is going to sound bad, but when all these teams have Champions League and we haven't won it and neither have they, there's not really much between us to choose from. We're both in London, so we'll see. Hopefully, if he doesn't come to us, he stays where the fuck he's at, because I don't really want to see this.
You spending if we don't get Gyökeres, are you sanctioning 92.5 million on Sesko?
Absolutely not. I don't even think that that's going to be the real fee. I do think it's more expensive than last summer, which, again, you could have had him last summer if you had just lied to him a little bit, Mikel, and told him he was going to get playing time, because lo and behold, he would have gotten a lot of playing time because he would have played the whole back end of the season, so we missed a trick. But would I still take Sesko? Yes. For that fee? Absolutely not. So
do you think people are harsh on him as well? Like, obviously, Gyökeres is the one I want, and he's whatever, yeah. And I know fans are tired of the stars of tomorrow. He's going to be good in 2 years, 3 years. But I don't think he's amazing. But I don't think he's shit. I would be happy, quote unquote, with Sesko. Like, it just feels like people are shitting on him, if I'm honest. Pause.
With Osimhen?
No, with Sesko. I hear what you're saying with Osimhen. Osimhen's going to Middle East. He's going to get paid.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, I think with Sesko, people just, especially if big people in the fan base say young player means not ready, means not what we need, I think a lot of people just take that as bond and they don't actually watch the player. My biggest thing with Chelsea is, or not Chelsea, sorry, with Sesko is, do I believe that he'll score the chances that Havertz missed? The ones that, like against Man United or against Newcastle. Yes, I do. Do I feel like, he's going to be perfect right away? No, but do I think he'll contribute and be a number 9 that makes us better? Yes. So, yeah, I think there's pros and cons to both Gyökeres and Sesko. I think we could do a lot of work.
Bring both, man. I know I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
Bring both, man. Have your little protege, have your gunman. If it was up to me, two center forward, sorry, and a left winger, but I'm dreaming. That's too much money.
Yeah.
My final one then, Jess.
Yeah.
Sane. He's been linked with us on the free. You there for it or
his agent loves linking him to us, loves the contract talks. But just saying that if this isn't contract negotiations and this was real on the table, he only really makes sense as the third attacker. You know, if you still get Nico Williams and a striker, then he can be additional. My biggest thing is if Arsenal are finding it difficult to pay Nico Williams wages, then you're going to find it difficult to pay his as well because his are
29 as well.
Yeah. So for me, it's a no. I think if you're going to go for a right-sided attacker that's, you know, versatile and stuff, go get, you know, Akliouche from Monaco, you know, go get Cherki, go get something else, you know. So
Cherki, forget it. Cherki's gone, man. He's being flirted with City, man. They're the kind of guys we need.
Yeah,
I hope the club surprise us in it. Like, I try not to get. I mean, you can't not be jealous of Liverpool getting Verts and all the people City are linked with. I try not to watch what other teams are doing, but it does make me think, oh, what's going on here, lads? Like, can we get it done? But I don't know, man. Like, Jess, we're just gonna have to hope and pray. The bad news, people, is that the stream's ended. The good news is we're going over to Jess's platform. Take it away, Jess. Now that she's back,
yeah,
she might not be a stranger anymore.
Oh my gosh. Okay, guys. Yeah, just. She knows Arsenal in the YouTube search bar.
Or the title of the video.
Yeah,
she can't even do that properly. See,
I know I'm so bad at that, but yeah, make sure you guys are there. Earlier I did keep sell loan, and so we did that quickly before you know, this video, so you guys can rewatch that after we do our live in a couple seconds.
So yeah, people, we're heading over to Jess's platform. Come and join us. No doubt we'll go over a lot of things already covered, and she'll add her own personal twang to it. So yeah, join us, man. Pre-season, off-season, mid-season,
by the way. So make sure you get the link from the private chat there.
Listen, I do my job. I'm not incompetent like you. I'm Declan Rice in this thing. You're Martinelli. Like, and on that note, we're gone. Head over to Jess's platform.